What's up, everybody? Welcome to another World of Warcraft video. Guys, I already did this video, but a lot of people didn't like it, so I decided to remake it and do another Death Knight, Unholy Death Knight guide / review. Now, guys, a couple warnings before I get into this video is one, there will be swearing in this video, and I know some people dislike that, but just keep that in mind. There will be swearing. I don't know, when, but it comes naturally. Two, I wouldn't really call this more of a review, a guide. I know I put it as a guide, but it's more of a review. And the reason why is because, it's hard to make a guide at this current stage of the game because, first of all, Legion hasn't fully released, therefore we don't have artifacts, and we don't have, PvP talent tree, and not everything's, up to date, even though Legion is coming out in 4 days, so keep in mind. This is more of a review of the rotation, the class orientation, and how I feel about it. And last but not least, definitely not least, if you have anything that I have a problem, that you had a problem with that I said during the video, please feel free to leave a comment correcting me or hating on me. I don't mind. I'll read it. Whether I disagree with it or not, I'll read it. But yeah, let's get right into it. Now, the Death Knight, the Unholy Death Knight, is a fantastic class in my opinion. It has been in Warlords of Draenor. It was really good. The Death Knight in general was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was still very good. But in Legion, they really upped their game. It is fantastic. Legion Death Knights, around the whole, Frost, Unholy and Blood are very good. They're stellar. They're very, very good. All are extremely fun, with extremely unique rotations. They're all enjoyable in their own rights, and that's something I can appreciate. And that's why I'll probably be rolling a Death Knight, is because one, they have variation. There's Blood DK, which is tanking, and they have DPSing. And also, they're fun. All specs are fun, so I wouldn't mind switching between them. So, now that we got that out of the way, how is the Unholy Death Knight? Well, the Unholy Death Knight is very good. It's very cool, it's very fun. It lives up to the hype. It really does. It is a Unholy Death Knight. So, starting off, let us look at the talent tree. So, what have we got? Well, the talent tree is very good. It's actually really nice because the talent tree can be mixed and matched in different ways to completely change sometimes the rotation, which is really nice. You see a lot of variation when it comes to Death Knights, and that's something also I can appreciate. Ignore the DPS here. It's not relevant. It really isn't. But yeah, that's something that is appreciated. The fact that it is very in depth. It has a lot of variation, which is very nice. But yeah, let's start off. So tier 1, you got 3. We got All Will Serve. Your Raise Dead spell now summons an additional skeleton minion, and its cooldown is removed. Now, I don't know if they changed this, but this used to summon a ranged skeleton with a bow, which sucked because it's annoying. I don't know why they made a pet that is ranged. It's so stupid. Let me quickly summon my pet here. It's so stupid. Really is. I disliked it. They might have changed it. I'm not sure, but I think it's the same. You got Bursting Swords, which is what I do. Your Festering Wounds deal 50% more damage. I'll explain what a Festering Wound is later. And when it bursts, and all enemies within 8 yards of a burst Festering Wound suffer 5,000 shadow damage. Right. Ebon Fever, Virulent Plague, deals the same damage in half the time. Virulent Plague is your new plague, is your new dot, and it's just basically they mix the old plagues together to make one plague. So it's your plague now. It's the plague that you apply now. So it's basically increases the damage. You got for tier 2, you got Epidemic, causes each of your virulent plagues within 100 yards to flare up, dealing 9,000 damage to the infected enemy and an additional 1,700 shadow damage to all other enemies near them. Now, if this is timed properly and done well, the amount of damage you can do, the amount of AoE is actually disgusting. It is disgusting. It is so beautiful. I know that's kind of contradictory because I said disgusting and it's so beautiful, but it really is amazing the amount of damage you can do. And that's what's nice about this class. It has a lot of potential. It has a lot of AoE potential, and its single target isn't bad either. For the second one, you have Pestilent Pustules. Every 6 festering wounds you burst, you gain 1 ruined, which just hastens the spec as a whole. You got Blighting Rune Weapon. Your next 4 auto attacks infect your target with 2 festering wounds, which also again just applies more festering wounds, and you always want a certain amount of festering wounds on your target. I will explain what a festering wound is. Basically, one of your abilities inflicts your enemies with festering wounds, and you pop those festering wounds with your Scourge Strike. So your Festering Strike applies the festering wounds. It can apply either 2 to 4, and you burst those festering wounds with Scourge Strike, or you can just leave them and they'll burst on their own. So now you understand what it is. Unholy Frenzy. When a festering wound bursts, you gain 100% increased attack speed for 2 seconds. Sometimes you'll notice this, but most of the times it will slip by. You won't actually realize that you get that 100% attack speed because it's for 2 seconds, so it's really quick. You don't really notice it. But I go for it anyway because it's pretty good. You got a Castigator. Each Festering Strike, Critical Strike, applies 2 additional festering wounds. Each Scourge Strike, Critical Strike, bursts 1 additional festering wound. Now you can see already within the first 3 tiers how you can mix and match things. And that's the good thing about it. That's really the good thing about it. That's what I really like about the Death Knight, the Unholy Death Knight. Also Frost Death Knight's the same thing. And Blood Death Knight. Their talent trees are phenomenal. But yeah, let's going into the next one. Clawing Shadows. It replaces your Scourge Strike, so it's basically a stronger Scourge Strike. That's it. That really is. Sludge Belcher. You got Raised Dead now summons an Abomination instead of a Ghoul with improved innate abilities, as you can see right here. My Abomination. You got Asphyxiate, lifts the target enemy off the ground, crushing their throat. Dark Energy and summoning them for 5 seconds. I see this more being a PvP thing rather than a PvE, because not many PvE, not many raid bosses or raid trash even can be stunned in itself. But going on to the next one, you got Debilitating Infestation. Outbreak reduces the movement speed of all affected enemies by 50% for 3 seconds. This is, of course, your Outbreak applies your disease, so of course that's a good thing. For tier 5, you have Spell Eater. Your anti-magic shell is 20% larger and lasts for 5 seconds longer, so it basically makes your anti-magic shell stronger, which is good because anti-magic shell saves your ass. Corpse Shield. For the next 10 seconds, 90% of all damage you take is transferred to your Abomination. If your Abomination is slain while the spell is active, it cannot be resummoned for 30 seconds. So this is also pretty good. I don't really go for it because I don't really like pet management, with all honesty. The next one is Lingering Apparition. You walk 30% faster during Wraith Walk, and its cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds. If you don't know what Wraith Walk is, it's your new Death Knight ability, all round, and it just makes you float in the air a little faster. I don't know, I think it looks stupid in all honesty. It looks pretty stupid, can't lie. And for tier 6, you have Shadow Infusion. While your Abomination is not transformed, Death Coil will also reduce the remaining cooldown of Dark Transformation by 5 seconds. So it basically makes your Dark Transformation... why am I saying basically? It does it. Yeah, it literally makes your Dark Transformation more active and reset the cooldown quicker. So yeah, I like a lot of people like doing that because, I mean, Dark Transformation is good. You got Necrosis. Dealing damage with Death Coil causes your next Scourge Strike to deal 35% increased damage. Now you can see how this works out. You really can. Only from the talent tree. You can see how everything relates to each other. It's very good. You got Infected Claws. Your Abomination's Cleaver attack has a 35% chance to cause a festering wound on the target. It's also good. Dark Arbiter. This is very good if you're smart at playing this game. This is the thing. This brings back skill, and that's what I enjoy, because this does take skill. Dark Arbiter, you need to be good at casting shit to be good at casting this. It really is what it is. I mean, it takes skill to use it effectively. And so does a lot of these abilities, by the way. It's that's what I like about it. That's what I really like about it. Defile, same shit as ever. I'm not bothered to explain it. Soul Reaper. Strike an enemy's soul for 36,000 damage, so you do a lot of damage. It's a 45-second cooldown. This is one of my favorite abilities, and I'll show you why. Bursting a festering wound on an enemy afflicted by Soul Reaper for the next I forgot how many, 5 seconds, for the next 5 seconds. So you keep spamming your Scourge Strike for 5 seconds and bursting those wounds will give you 7% haste. Could give you 3 stacks of 7% haste, so effectively 21% haste for 15 seconds. And you can get this wrong and you can do it right. If you do it right, you will notice straight away, because when you do it right, it is so good. It's so good. Really is. When you do it wrong, you will notice, because the 21% added haste is really noticeable. Really is noticeable. Anyway, let's get into the rotation itself. Now you can see, as you can see, the Death Knight is a good example of the ability prune that happened. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically they removed the amount of abilities, but they added more depth to the abilities you have. So no more filler spells and shit like that. What you have now is you have your Outbreak. Deals damage and it inflicts your disease, which is Virulent Plague. Simple. You have Festering Strike, which is 2 runes, instant, and deals a bunch of damage and gives a Festering Wound. Decline. It gives a Festering Wound, and yeah, of course, stacks up your Festering Wounds. And this is your main damage dealer, which is Scourge Strike, which bursts the Festering Wound, deals damage and bursts the Festering Wound, which is yeah. And you have Death Strike now, which uses runic power, not runes. So it's a runic power thing now. It doesn't use runes anymore. And you have Death Coil, which are your basic fillers. Usually you would go for Death Coil. I mean, I don't know why you would use Death Strike. It depends on what situation you're in. Usually for PvP, I see people using Death Strike more than Death Coil, because I don't know. What you'll also notice is that a lot of the pet management is gone. Dark Transformation is a 1 minute cooldown. It doesn't really relate to the rotation that much. You just cast it whenever it's off cooldown. And same as Summon Gargoyle. There's barely any pet management, which is nice. I don't know. I've never enjoyed pet management. I don't like micromanagement. I'm not a fan of that. One thing you'll also notice is your Death and Decay. Now you're going to see how all of this relates. Your Death and Decay, it's the normal thing, normal AoE damage. However, when you're all enemies in your Death Decay, when you're in your Death and Decay, and you use Scourge Strike, all enemies in that Death and Decay will get hit by Scourge Strike. So you can see how AoE can really be a massive have a massive role to play with the Death Knight, with the Unholy Death Knight. You can see just right off the bat that Death Knights can have a pretty decent fucking amount of AoE damage, and that's what's nice. It's nice. I like that. It's really good. And one of my favorite, Soul Reaper. I like fitting this into the rotation because it makes it a lot more interesting. Because the haste is not only good, but it's very efficient. It's really effective. It's very effective, that 21% haste, because it really speeds up the class, the spec, and it feels a lot more fun. So it's fun to use, and it's really interesting in itself. That's why I really like Soul Reaper. So let's get into it. All right. When you want your pet always out, and when you go to inflict a target, what you're gonna do? You're gonna use your Outbreak to spread your diseases. You could spread your demon diseases as much as you want. To spread it to 3, and then you can deal a lot of damage. Of course, I got a Death Coil proc. What you'd want to do from then on is, it's very simple. Even though there's a lot more depth to it, I don't want to say it's simple because there's so much depth to it. You build up your Festering Wounds, and then you burst your Festering Wounds with your Festering Strikes, which sounds simple, and it does sound simple, but with the variation of talents, it can get really complex. It can get really different, and it can get really good. Like I said, pet management really isn't a thing anymore, but I kind of fucked up there. That was my mistake, sorry guys. But my fucking stupid pet isn't doing shit. Thanks, pet. But yeah, that's the basic gist of it, really. Spreading, your diseases as usual. Building up Festering Strike, so then you could use your Scourge Strike. So now I'm going to show you how I would usually come across a situation when I want to do as much damage as possible. So first, I'll build up my Scourge Strike until I have more than 3. And then what I do is I activate my Soul Reaper, and I would use my Scourge Strike 3 times. So then I get that 21% haste, which is so nice. It makes the class a lot more quick, a lot more pacey, and it's a lot more enjoyable. Really is. I can't even lie. That's why I really love Soul Reaper as a talent. Even though it may not be the most effective in terms of damage, it makes it so much more interesting in my opinion. And as you can see, my Scourge Strike is actually attacking all 3 dummies, which is also, you know, like I said, when people are in your Death and Decay, it will spread your damage. So it's very basic. It really is. Whenever your Dark Transformation and your Summon Gargoyles off cooldown, you use it. You spread your plagues as usual. Build up some festering wounds, and you pop those festering wounds with your Scourge Strike. Sounds very simple, I know, but with the amount, with the talents, you can really change things up. And that's just up to you, really. This is how I like to play, because I'll be honest, because it's the most simple way to play. And I like simple. I know that sounds really stupid and gay, but what the fuck? I mean, who doesn't like simple? I like it simple. I don't know why. It's just me, man. But yeah, that's just me. A lot of people might like complex, and the best thing about this is the more complex it gets, the more effective it gets. If you can master the complexity that some of the spells have, you're gonna be doing shit tons of damage, and a really nice amount of damage at that. So it all comes down to really how you want to build the spec, and that's what I really like about this spec. Anyway, guys, that's been my time. I hope you enjoyed the video. The last video got fucking a ton of dislikes, and that's why I decided to remake it, because a lot of people didn't fucking like it, and honestly, I don't like that. I really don't like that. I do this for fun, and I hope everybody enjoys my video as much as they can. And if you did, please leave a like and even subscribe. You know, that could help me out a lot. Anyway, cheers, guys. See you in the next video. Ciao.